How to cleanse your intestines from feces, especially old poop and gas, and have a looser bowel, the kind of bowel that you go to the bathroom, I don't know, every day at least, how to slim down, improve your digestion, not have so much fluid retention, reduce your allergies, reduce your candidiasis. So today I'm going to teach you how to start cleansing your intestines so you can get rid of old poop, start improving that accumulation of gas. But before you start talking about this, I'd like to kindly ask you to subscribe to our channel, click on the little bell to activate notifications, leave your like. This like is important because the channel can have greater visibility of the video. If we talk like this stuffed cookie cupcake, those addictive sweets that children love. Cold soda on hot days accompanied by a nice hamburger and fries. There are a lot of people who salivate when they hear me talk about these foods, these delights, these temptations. But you should know that these items, as well as others, have been classified by a lot of experts as the worst foods for your intestines. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you the harm they do to this organ of our body and why you have to remove them or at least reduce them from your diet, okay? So our intestine is responsible for absorbing the nutrients in what we eat and what we drink. It's an autonomous organ. In other words, it has its own nervous system. It doesn't depend on other systems, and it produces important neurotransmitters such as serotonin, which is the hormone of happiness and well-being. And because of this autonomy, it's even called the second brain. Not just because of this, the relationship between the intestine and the brain is very strong. The intestine plays a fundamental role in the immune system because 70% of the cells that produce antibodies are in the intestine. So for this reason, having a healthy diet is more than necessary to prevent the intestine from becoming inflamed. When the intestine becomes inflamed, you become susceptible to diseases, and this will also worsen the symptoms of chronic diseases. So pay attention if you want to learn how to cleanse the intestine. I'm not going to give you medicine here. I'm not going to give you laxatives. I'm not going to give you anything. I'm going to tell you which are the 6 foods that if you take out of your daily routine, your intestines will start to clean up. After you've done that, then we can think about some supplement, something. But to begin with, medicine has to be much more about what to take out. So I think that the person who goes to the doctor, the first thing the doctor has to do is you need to take this out. All right, let's dive in. Today, I will be discussing the top 6 villains when it comes to the health of your intestines. If you struggle with a sluggish or inflamed digestive system and frequently experience irregular bowel movements, this information is particularly important for you. So let's get started. First of them, cookies. They're really full of preservatives, trans fats, artificial flavorings, which if you consume too much, you end up becoming addicted to, especially children. How is trans fat obtained? Many people have heard of trans fat. What is it? It's obtained through a chemical process called hydrogenation. So what is hydrogenation? It's a process that transforms liquid vegetable oils into solids. And it is precisely the result of this mixture that makes food so attractive and so tasty, so that little biscuit has more fat than you think, but it's trans fat. It doesn't have any nutritional value, just lots of calories that make you put on weight and increase your bad cholesterol, which in the long term will increase the fatty plaques in your arteries, leading to heart attacks and strokes. In addition to this, the stuffed cookie is the type of food that inflames and can even rupture the wall of the intestine, Dayan. But explain to me better how this thing about rupturing the wall of the intestine works. With a filter, it's like a coffee filter. This type of food makes a hole in this filter. When it makes a hole, anything can get in. Then you don't know why you've got the autoimmune disease, the second type of poison for your intestines, that you have to start cutting out sugary drinks. Dayan, what are sugary drinks? Soft drinks, chocolate, regardless of whether it's light or diet, Fruit juice, when I say fruit juice, especially boxed fruit juice, but even normal fruit juice, for example, orange juice, is bad for you. Because all these industrialized drinks have an absurd amount of sugar. And there's no point in replacing soda, because I understand there are people who take away the soda and give the boxed juice. There's no point in taking out the soda and giving it light or diet juice, because the amount of preservatives is enormous. And I know that many parents do this without even knowing it. Sugar is highly inflammatory and addictive. It ferments in our intestines. It generates gas. It will increase the bad bacteria in your microbiota. Third food is flour, also known as white flour. So these are products produced by white flour, such as the delicious and crunchy French bread, cake, pasta, all of which contain gluten, which is wheat protein. You say you don't know how to improve your intestines? You say you don't know how to improve your thyroid? You're eating bread and cake every day. The big problem is self-consumption of these foods, because gluten, imagine wet bread, sticks to the wall of your intestines and causes inflammation in the long term. In addition, these products are part of the category of refined carbohydrates that are transformed into glucose, immediately giving a spike in insulin and putting sugar into the cells. But this glucose as the cell is already full of sugar, because you do this many times. This sugar will be left over in the blood and will go there to your... Introducing our fourth product that caters to your belly's needs. Industrialized products. These products are really very practical. You take them out of the freezer and put them in the oven or microwave. But all this practicality is not enough. Lasagna is rice, a ready-made dish, all ready-made. All this practicality comes packed with preservatives, dyes, trans fats, sugar, and sodium, which mess with your intestinal microbiota and favor bad bacteria, because it promotes fermentation in there, and your bacteria love it. It's no wonder that if you use and abuse this type of food, the smell of your feces will show you that you need to stop consuming it. You want to know if you're rotten, infected, your feces stink a lot. You're rotten, a person who eats a legal diet, goes into the bathroom, poops and comes out. Whoever goes in doesn't feel if your poop stinks, it's bad. Your intestine is like the fifth villain for the intestine that I'm not going to ask you to remove. It's important that you reduce by how much, Dayan? At most twice a week, Dayan. What's that? It's something I like a lot too, and that's important, is red meat. Dayan, are you demonizing red meat? No. I'm asking you to eat less, that's all. Consuming red meat is important for building muscle mass, but when you overdo it, it will alter your microbiota. Meat has a high fat and animal protein content. This can favor the growth of certain bacteria that feed on these components by altering the intestinal microbiota during the process of digesting red meat. Some intestinal bacteria, they can produce toxic substances such as ammonia, as hydrogen sulfide, as some byproducts, and these substances can have negative effects on intestinal health. Is a food that lacks dietary fiber, and fiber is essential for maintaining intestinal health. Excessive consumption of red meat may be associated with an increase in chronic inflammation in the intestine, which alters the microbiota by increasing the number of bad bacteria, right? So this even worsens irritable bowel syndrome. If you eat a lot of fried food, especially vegetable oil, inflammation is creeping into your health. We must have a balance between omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, right? Right? Omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, omega-6 is inflammatory. Vegetable oils such as soybean, canola, sunflower, and other plants are known for their high omega-6 content, which at high temperatures release carcinogenic substances. And this imbalance between fatty acids, omega-6 and omega-3 in the diet has been associated with inflammatory processes processed and refined. Vegetable oils such as cooking oil can contain additives and substances that are unhealthy for the intestine. Choosing an unrefined, cold, pressed oil can be more beneficial, such as extra virgin olive oil. And this process of repeated heating of polyunsaturated vegetable oils, such as cooking oil, do you think that little pastry that is fried in the street, the person who fries it only uses it once? People, they fry, and then strain it through a cloth. That cloth strainer removes the black stuff that's left in the oil, and it's brand new, right? Visually brand new, right? And that can lead to the formation of free radicals, oxidative stress, which contributes to inflammation. Other factors can also harm your intestines, such as smoking, alcohol that impair the action of enzymes and irritate the intestinal mucosa. Stress can also cause this imbalance because it affects the immune system, and the cells are normally produced by the immune system in the intestine. So guys, all these foods I've talked about here can cause what we call debiosis, which is a nice name, but it's a name that means an imbalance in the intestinal microbiota where the bad bacteria prevail over the good ones. So if you really want to have intestinal health, you have to start by removing these foods. Dayan, how do I know without a test that my gut isn't right? Most common symptoms, come on. Bad breath, stomach pain, constipation, i.e. stuck bowels or diarrhea, flatulence, too much pita, abdominal distension, that bloated belly, fatigue, lack of concentration, irritability, anxiety, frequent allergies, and repeated candidiasis. If you have these symptoms, surely you have a very bad gut, right? And to improve this scenario, it's important that you start consuming probiotics such as kefi, for example. Fibers found in fruits, vegetables, and legumes. I'll show you a probiotic I'm taking right now. You can buy it here. Natural products, store in Brazil. I bought this in the United States. But in Brazil, they have it. It's a kind of soft drink. Did you hear the gas? The gas here is from bacteria, right? This is fermented. It's natural. Delicious. This is kombucha. You can even make it at home. I want to express my sincere gratitude to my dear friends for joining me. My wish for all of you is to live a healthy and passionate life, always keeping God in your hearts.